Hello everybody. I'm making this video for the attention of all Africans living in English-speaking countries. I am Zapayoro, your brother from a French-speaking country. So brothers and sisters, we know we are all Africans, but there's always been that feeling among us to be part of two different worlds. The world of the French-speaking countries and the world of the English-speaking countries. And of the two worlds, the former one I mentioned, the Francophone world, is visibly lagging far behind, economically and in terms of development, not only compared to the English-speaking countries in the continent, but also to the rest of Africa generally. And those countries are really at the bottom of the economic ladder, globally speaking. So I know you guys keep wondering what is wrong with those French-speaking countries in Africa. I would like to bring my contribution to answering this question, and this is the aim of the videos, the series of videos I'm going to make under the title Behind the French Barrier. So for today's video, I suggest we talk about CFA, franc. CFA is a currency used by 15 countries across the continent. In Western Africa, you got countries like Ivory Coast, Mali, Burkina, Senegal. In Central Africa, you got countries like Central Africa, Cameroon, Chad, and Congo, and Equatorial Guinea. And the last region, the third region, is the Comoros. So I know it will be very hard for you guys to believe, but CFA, which stands today for Financial Community of Africa, initially used to stand for French colonies of Africa. It's a situation that has not changed at all over the time. Actually, can you imagine that today, each country using that currency, CFA, is obliged to deposit 50% of their currency reserve in an account lodged at the French Treasury. 50% of the currency reserve. So every year, France takes about $500 billion from those countries. $500 billion. And France is free to use that money to reduce its budget deficit, to pay down its debt, or even to use it to make profit through financial speculation. That money could have been used in Africa to build more roads, build more hospitals, invest in education and industrialization. One more thing you need to know about that mechanism of oppression is that there are French people, at the board of each regional central bank. BCAO in West Africa, BEAC in Central Africa, and the Bank of the Comoros. Those French people have the power to veto any decision made by those countries. One last thing I will tell you about that, because there are so many things to say about it. One last thing I will tell you about that is that money is printed not in Africa, but it's printed in France, in Chemalière. So we have to pay for that oppression again. So now the question is, why don't African presidents quit that system? Why don't those countries just simply quit that system? And that's where intimidation and threat set in. Each African president who has tried to quit that system has either been sabotaged, removed from power, or even killed. There are so many examples. Just to mention a few, remember Sékou Touré from Guinea, Modibo Keïta in Mali, Sylvanus Olympio in Togo, who was killed, and recently Laurent Gbagbo. And also, it's important to know that that system, that mechanism of oppression is implemented with the implication, with the complicity, the involvement of African presidents. and militaries. And generally, basically in Western Africa, because in Central Africa there's some progress now thanks to Idriss Déby and Paul Biya and also Biangema Mbasogo. The money now is going to be printed no longer in France but in Central Africa. That's a progress. But Africa, Western Africa is really far behind. And they are the biggest watchdogs of that system there, defending that system. And the most vocal ones of them are Ouattara from Ivory Coast and Macky Sall in Senegal. If I take Macky Sall, he doesn't miss any opportunity to show his allegiance to France. And recently, they held a council of ministers in France, joint council of ministers between the Senegalese government and the French government. And that council of ministers was chaired by the French Prime Minister Edouard Philippe. Ouattara is always receiving Nicolas Sarkozy, like as a king. Nicolas Sarkozy, the number one murderer of Gaddafi. And by the way, let's remember that Gaddafi, one of the main reasons why Gaddafi was killed was because he wanted to provide those Africans with the means to have their own currency. And Nicolas Sarkozy is always parading in Africa, in Ivory Coast. And he said publicly, we removed Gbagbo from power and brought Ouattara to power. And those two men, Ouattara and Macky Sall, were accused by Kemi Seba, the new leader of the African Pan-Africanist youth in French-speaking countries, of arresting him in Senegal and deporting him to France, just like in the days of slavery. So it was important to let you guys know about those things, and I hope they help you gradually understand better and better what is happening in those French-speaking countries. I'll also send you supporting videos about what I said and other videos about other issues in the region. And meanwhile, I'd like to say thank you for listening to me, and don't forget that we are one people, whether we speak English or French. Thank you, brothers and sisters.